Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Joe Theodore, and it's an honor to be here with you today. I hope you are doing well on this Sunday. Now, today, my friends, I would like to talk to you guys about the full moon in Aries that will be happening this week. We are talking about massive Chiron activations, and we will be talking about the solar eclipse that happened in April. I think I mentioned this briefly last week, that this was going to be a full circle moment, going from a new moon, solar eclipse obviously, to a full moon that is happening now. The North Node is still in Aries, but it is nowhere near where this moon will be. But still, this is the wrapping up of eclipse season here and now, but the full circle moment from new moon to full moon of the Aries Chiron story. I said last week that the month of October was going to be the most intense month of the year. Aside from October being the most intense month of the year, I said the second most intense moment of the year was the solar eclipse in Aries that happened in April. Then that was followed up by a Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. So again, from April all the way until Jupiter got into Gemini, we were dealing with some very intense energy that Aryan moment started. That being said, here we are. We are in the middle of one of the most insane global moments involving politics and involving conflict abroad. And maybe in your own life. So maybe if you are interested in sharing here on the YouTube channel in the comments for everyone else to see, because I do love when people share their experiences and what's going on with them. That really allows other viewers to learn. If you're interested in sharing, of course, I respond to as many comments as I possibly can. So feel free to share anything maybe you would like me to respond on. I mean, I can't sit there and answer 1,000 questions, obviously, and respond in massive chunks of paragraph. But always hearing what you have to say is so important to me. Because this really is a very, very intense moment. I mean, we have, as I'm recording this right now on Saturday, October 12th, Pluto is now direct. So Pluto is moving forward again into Aquarius within 4 weeks. Pluto will be back in Aquarius full time. The Pluto return story will be over, aka the election will be over, and we will know the fate of, for example, America. But in our own life, wrapping up this tail end of Capricorn and what your Capricorn story has been all about is right here, my friends. It is here. It is front and center. And some of us, I think, might have already learned the lessons and have integrated what we needed to integrate. We've revisited some stuff in the last month and a half. And some of us are, once again, possibly as I'm talking to you now, beginning to see the solar eclipse stuff from April kind of come back. There could be something being revealed to you that maybe was once a part of that story. Because we're going from the new moon solar eclipse energy, full circle, to the full moon now. And Chiron is in the mix, right? Chiron is the sacred wound. In our birth chart, it is a place where we usually are wounded very early on in life. Something very significant happens in that part of our life that ends up leaving us insecure or in a place of weakness, a place of just emotional suffering, sometimes physical suffering. And part of our goal and mission in life is to reconcile what that Chiron wound is all about. To find the best mode of surrender, letting go, and healing so we can accept ourselves in that part of our life, right? And then usually when we accept and surrender the Chiron wound, we then allow kind of just like a miracle that life just sort of gets better there. We realize, like, if you have an issue with relationships, that once you understand that it's part of your mission to have more self-worth, then and only then will someone come into your life divinely timed, So Chiron in the sky, when it transits, it's giving us, each of us, wherever Aries is in your life, it is showing us for a number of years something that needs attention, something that is suffering there. Like someone who has Chiron transiting in their 6th house for all those years might be suffering from ongoing medical problems, or they're going through a chunk of years where they have to alter their life drastically because maybe they got an illness and now they need to change their life. Maybe they've learned a lot about what it means to take care of oneself, right? Or the 6th house can also be associated with work. So if somebody has Chiron transiting there, maybe their workplace has been a place of suffering for them for many years, and part of their mission being Aries there for them is to somehow embark upon their own way in life. And I can say from experience, being an Aries 6th house, that's kind of been a big part of my story, and some medical things too, by the way. So I've kind of checked off all the boxes with a Chiron 6th house Aries transit, including a massive injury a year and a half ago. So learning to live in a new world where examining one's nature and operating in a physical way in this world, also understanding better ways to take care of oneself, as well as learning that there's certain career paths or job descriptions that no one who has Aries in the 6th house should ever pursue. So for me, there's this healing going on. There's this understanding, there's this wounding, and then there's this, what am I going to do about it, right? So the solar eclipse in Aries for all of you very much brought something under a magnifying glass, and something very much was challenged. And I only say challenged because we were having a Mercury retrograde during that solar eclipse, which again hit different, and Chiron. Right? So this is why so many of us on the world stage are going through it maybe a little extra hard, because not only are we tied to the collective Chiron and Aries story, which I can go on and on about, involving the fight for individuality and identity. This is why culture wars have been so hot in the last many years. This is why so many nations are fighting for what they believe in as far as the identity of their nation, right? We can even throw Russia into this, whether you hate them or not, and most of us should shun the crap out of them for trying to have a land war after World War II. Should have taught us the biggest lessons of our life. They're fighting for Mother Russia. So again, there's this wound around the identity, the Aryan nature, and some people are using the Martian aspect of Aries to pursue that, which is very violent, right? And in our own life, we could definitely be seeing some of that. Wherever Aries is in your life there could be a lot of violence there. There could be a lot of anger there, right? There could be a lot of movement forward and a lot of unchecked energy that you don't even know what to do with. But it's also a place that we can really pursue things independently and with freedom. And if we do that and we are graced with having that opportunity to express the Aryan part of that part of our life, then we really fulfill a major part of one part of life's destiny, right? Like in my case, the 6th house. There's a lot of things I've worked out throughout my life in order to understand, okay, what does it mean to have Aries in the 6th house, right? And as I've gotten older and injured and fell ill in certain ways and kind of understood like career path stuff and what works best for me and what makes me most excited, you start to understand that it includes freedom. It includes independence. It includes learning how to do things yourself and how to take care of yourself, right? And yes, having help from others in certain departments, but also understanding that sometimes in life you need to go at things alone. And that's part of the challenge of being in the Aries, part of your life. Sometimes you need to learn and go at things alone in the Aryan part of your life sometimes. And that's just part of the human spirit and will. So whether this is the sixth house in my case, when I just talked about a couple of things, or whether it's the seventh house, where people with Aries in the seventh house maybe they need freedom in their relationship. They need to have a relationship, or they need to have relationships that allow them to be very, very expressive and very, very independent, perhaps. That being said, this is the most intense week of the month, of the most intense month of the year. The full moon in Aries is happening just as we are having Venus go into Sagittarius 6 hours later. So there is a lot of fire in the sky. And Venus in Sagittarius is the first time we're having Venus in a fire sign since she was in Leo in July. So the comparison between Leo and Sagittarius is very different. Leo is fixed fire, right? And Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, which is very expansive and is very interested in understanding deeper things in life, understanding and creating deeper relationships. It wants to do things more deeply. It wants to be beautiful in the depth of wisdom and beautiful in the curiosities of what could be. It could also be very healing, of course, because we're dealing with Jupiter, and Jupiter definitely can be a healer. But in your own life, you have to examine, what is Sagittarius, right? And what is this moment for Aries for you? Because all of that taken into consideration, on top of the fact that the full moon will be squaring Mars, squaring Pluto, and Pluto will be forming even more intense oppositions to Mars, as Pluto is now going direct towards Aquarius. So in our own life, I'm not saying we're all falling apart here, because Mars-Pluto oppositions are very intense. We're talking about squares coming from a full moon in Aries with Chiron there, going to Mars, going to Pluto. And this is, from an astrological perspective, this is very difficult stuff. But I think a lot of this is going to be I think it's going to be more tolerable for us, individuals versus what we see on the world stage. Because I think what we're going to see on the world stage from here on forth, and I'm not getting into details here because this channel is really about the psycho-spiritual elements of astrology and your experience. But we're all tied to what goes on in the world. And if we're all witness to things that are very, very intense, then we're going to have that come into our life in one way, shape, or form. And that energy is in the air, right? So I think if you can examine your life, there's a lot going on that is firing a lot of people up. I would sense that there's even a lot of anxiety happening to a lot of people right now, because sometimes fire is, again, we want to move with fire. We want to act with fire. And a lot of people right now feel like, yeah, we're doing some things to act, as the season changes into Scorpio season very soon. But when you have this much fire happening during a Libra into Scorpio season, plus Mars going opposite Pluto, wrapping up some last minute karma, there's a lot of energy that maybe doesn't know where to go. So I feel for some of us, we may feel very pent up. We may feel a little bit like we're in a cage. And Jupiter is retrograde as well. So we're going to have to understand, we're also going through a very big, massive, self-reflective cycle now. And people sleep on Jupiter retrogrades in astrology assessments because, yeah, Jupiter goes retrograde once or twice a year, right? But during significant zodiac signs, especially ones that are so mentally stimulated like Gemini, we can talk about how that's a really big transformation, going from this wild Gemini season we had, going from Mars being in Gemini to now Jupiter going retrograde during a lot of fire in the sky. And Mars-Pluto oppositions with squares to a full moon in Aries, with Venus in Sagittarius, there's a lot that is happening all at once. And I think that's really the best way to put it. We might not be ready for all of this happening this week and for most of October. I mean, a lot of us have accelerated something, right? Whether you just met someone or you just started talking to someone for the first time, and things just seem like they could be going really, really fast. And that's really great for a lot of people. You know, sometimes we need to just go for it. We need to talk. We need to, join that club and just start doing something. You need to start studying and taking that astrology course you wanted to buy from that creator out there who had this, let's say he had this massive masterclass course and you've been waiting to do it, and now you're doing it. Like, if you have the resources to start something or to invest in something that you could learn or get an astrology reading, for example, Venus in Sagittarius, come see a wisdom keeper and have that person drop some knowledge with you. So Venus in Sagittarius can be very transactional with gaining wisdom, embarking on something new, meeting someone new, talking to someone new, not being afraid to move in a direction that may seem strange or may seem too intense. Like, if something seems too intense, assess it. Like, is this way too intense for me? Or is this something I should lean into? Because sometimes we need to lean into the intensity, lean into the challenge. And I think for most of us, Mars going opposite Pluto in Cancer, we're dealing with Cancer, which, it could be worse. It could be Pluto going opposite Mars in Aries. But we're not dealing with that transit. We're dealing with a more emotional Mars, which means that some of us may actually be going through an emotional transformation. And oppositions are opportunities in my book sometimes. Yes, they can bring crisis when it comes to Pluto. Yes, they can bring a lot of upheaval. But truly, transformation, death, and rebirth is the name of the game with Pluto, right? That's why on the world stage, we're going to have a death and rebirth of what America stands for. In about a month or so, we're going to know where America stands, right? After everything this country's been through. On the world, conflicts. Is anything crazier going to happen? There's a lot going on. And the karmic return of Pluto for is not over. But that being said, transformation is necessary for growth. Leaning into challenge is necessary to evolve. And I think for most of us, for me, the oppositions from Pluto to Mars, I don't really feel like I'm being challenged in my life. I'm busier than ever with work stuff. But if you ask me if I was this busy 6 months ago, I would probably, I've been waiting to get busier. When you're a working astrologer, you want to be busier, right? You want to be helping more people. You want to be more financially okay, but 6 months ago, I wouldn't, if you just drop the busyness that I have right now, or some of the more digital content responsibilities I have now on my lap, I wouldn't know how to handle it. Maybe I would have been really overwhelmed, but I've been leaning into a lot of this stuff over the last couple of months. And now I'm starting to understand how to manage a lot of things all at once, even though I'm still kind of stressed out a little bit day to day. I'm trying to balance out life and all this stuff. But the point is I'm being challenged still. I'm being challenged in my work. I'm being challenged in my daily tasks. I'm transforming my craft and my services to the world. So Pluto opposite Mars is enhancing me in a way, and transforming me in this moment as I'm being reborn into some kind of new phase of my life. And for some people, that's really all it could be. I'm not dying over here. I'm not being wrecked and derailed off a train track. It's just sometimes you get thrown into the thick of something and you have to lean into it. It's like riding a wave, not to go off track, but it's like if you're going to surf, which I'm very familiar with the ocean, you need to have no fear. You just drop in and you catch the wave, and you can transform the way you look at yourself as a surfer. If you are able to face the fear of just boom, riding down that wave, you are taking an action Mars and transforming your ability as a surfer when you take more and more risks on bigger and bigger waves and learn how to ride them well. So for some of us, these T-squares in the sky, the full moon in Aries, again, that could be a perfect example. A lot of people with the solar eclipse in Aries were birthing something new into their life. And now we're being faced with reactivations with the full moon here, activating Chiron, whatever that story is for you. And that's really where the story lies, my friends, in the Chiron Aries wound. That's where this all lies for you. But the squares to Mars and Pluto and Mars-Pluto oppositions, like this is just adding to the soup of whatever challenge or whatever opportunity has been presented in this karmic moment for you. And for some of us, it's not really challenging. It's just like putting us a little bit to the test on breaking through and wrecking and like dealing with what we need to deal with the Chiron story, right? And the Aries story for us. So personally, I think a lot of us know what Pluto means in our life. A lot of us might already know what Pluto and Aquarius is going to mean in our lives. Like what house topic is Aquarius for you? That really shows you where you're going to transform in the next 20 years. Whether that's the first house of self and identity, you can expect yourself to be unrecognizable in 20 years. Complete and utter rebirth from the 12th house of karma endings and places of isolation, and just really having an enlightenment, awakening, and people going from the 6th to the 7th, right? We're talking about the complete and utter rebirth and transformative process of your business relationships and love life, potentially. And Mars in Cancer, we're dealing with a pretty quick moving transit, a massive Mars retrograde to come through the winter, where Cancer and Leo will be will have a massive test of resilience, and however that manifests for you. But until all that comes, we are at this is the month for healing the Chiron story, for understanding more about the wrapping up of Pluto and Capricorn, handling the world events with grace and not getting too consumed by the horror of the world. And to understand that we're all here to play a role in some kind of transformational continuation of karma. The Earth's karma, the collective karma, and whatever karma we're being dealt with now. And I feel part of the full moon story is healing, and again, coming full circle on the solar eclipse Chiron, activations from April, and seeing where we're at now. So it's almost like there's a revealing for this full moon of something we need to know involving Aries in that part of your life, while also simultaneously leaning into understanding the challenge of the squares going to Mars and Pluto. And this could very well be an enhancement of the birthing of the solar eclipse in April, an enhancement, a reactivation, a rebirthing, another dimension of birthing, right? So it's almost like it comes in waves. Like my solar eclipse Aries story in the 6th house had one wave. That was a massive activation. Now I'm noticing there's something going on now for me that's revealing like another level of that. It's like, okay, I had all this time now to build and grow and to understand and evolve something. And now I'm at a point where it's like, okay, well, now what do I do? How do I advance from here now with the same story? Right? And for me, the solar eclipse, this moment for me has there's a couple of different things happening. But again, it's like chapter 2, right? And yeah, my friends. And then again, Venus in Sagittarius is massive, right? The feminine is now in a fire sign. And this is very supportive. For me, at least, I think this is going to be a nice balance in the sky, generally speaking, and definitely for us. I think having Venus in a fire sign while all this crazy shit's happening is not a bad thing. I think Venus going into the realm of Jupiter is always a nice addition to the sky and into our birth charts. So maybe focus on that story too, while we finish out the month of October into early November, because Venus is going to fly through Sagittarius, right? Going to fly. And then sooner than later, of course, we will wrap up this T-square stuff in the sky. The full moon will be concluded, and we're going to move on into Scorpio season, which again, my friends, I just think there's a lot of intensity to come, just generally speaking in the world, and we're here for the ride. So I don't want to sugarcoat anything for you, because we're probably going to experience a lot of stuff that's difficult, generally speaking. But a lot of us and a lot of my clients recently have been doing a lot to better their lives in the last couple of years. And it's amazing when you see people doing the work that these transits are just empowering challenge in their life. Yes, but that challenge is so incredibly necessary. And the breakthroughs beyond that are very clear. And I sense it, and we discuss it in readings all the time. So that's inspirational for me to know and to see and to share with people I meet all the time. Now, that's all I have for you, my friends. I think that's all I have for you today. Please like the video. Please share the video and subscribe if you are new. And yeah, I'll see you all very soon.